Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're not just going to look at a political argument, we're going to take it apart, piece by piece, to see how it's built. We're going to break down how a case is constructed, from a pretty bold accusation all the way to a final call to action, and it's all based on the source material you're about to see.
All right, so let's get right into it. First up, the accusation. This is all about how a political challenge is framed to really hook you in from the very beginning. And wow, they are not pulling any punches here. The whole argument kicks off with this direct call for constitutional accountability against the sitting premier. It's not framed as just, a simple policy disagreement. No, they're calling it fiscal misconduct and a violation of universal social rights. I mean, that is designed to be a pretty dramatic opening, right?
Okay, so when you make a claim that serious, you can't just leave it hanging there. You got to back it up with some evidence. So let's follow the trail. Let's see what kind of financial case they're actually presenting to support all this.
And that brings us right here to what the source material itself calls the fiscal indictment. Even that title is strategic, isn't it? It immediately makes you think of the numbers not just as data, but as evidence in a kind of formal case against the government.
So at the very heart of this indictment is one big, striking number, $3.1 billion. Now, this isn't just a figure they pulled out of thin air. According to Ontario's Independent Financial Accountability Office, this is how much the government allegedly underspent in the healthcare sector. This one number, it's really the anchor for their entire financial argument.
But a number like $3.1 billion is so big it can feel kind of abstract. So what's really smart here, from a persuasion standpoint, is how they immediately connect that number to tangible human consequences. The argument quickly becomes not just about money, but about the alleged real-world effects of that underspending. We're talking ER closures and surgical backlogs, things people can really feel.
And this table here is absolutely crucial to their case. What the sources are trying to do with this is show a pattern of behavior. They're laying out the allocated budget right next to the actual spending in these huge areas: healthcare, social assistance, education. And then, for each one, they draw a direct line from that financial gap to a specific social problem. It's a very powerful visual.
And here's where they really drive that point home. This bar chart is a brilliant way to illustrate their argument that this isn't just a one-off thing. It visualizes a trend across different government sectors, and it's all aimed at painting a picture of systematic underspending, all based on data they're citing from the Financial Accountability Office.
Okay, so the next move in this argument is a big one. They shift gears from budgets and spreadsheets and start talking about international law. This is where they really try to elevate the stakes of the whole debate.
And how do they make that pivot? Well, they bring in the big guns. Article 28 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. By quoting this, they're attempting to reframe the entire conversation. The suggestion is that these alleged fiscal decisions aren't just, poor policy choices, but an actual failure to uphold a recognized universal right.
And here is exactly how they connect that huge, broad legal idea to a very specific issue, the disability benefit. The argument they're making is that by not ensuring a robust social safety net, the government is essentially failing to provide that social order that Article 28 talks about. And in their view, that amounts to a violation of a fundamental human right.
All right, so we've seen the data, and we've seen the legal framework. But now we get to what I think is the most fascinating part, the actual art of the argument. Let's look at how the message itself is strategically shaped for maximum impact. This is what's called the strategic pivot.
So get this, the source material actually lays out two totally different communication strategies. We're talking two different ways to present the exact same set of facts. This just goes to show how much conscious effort goes into tailoring a message for a specific audience to get a specific result.
And here they are, right next to each other. It's fascinating. On one side, you've got what they call the math of misery. It's all very stark, negative language designed to hammer home the problem. You see words like deficit, non-compliant, erosion. But then, on the other side, you've got the hopeful green strategy. It takes the same issues and reframes them with positive, solution-oriented language, restoring, investing, strengthening.
So why do this? What's the point of this pivot? Well, it's all about positioning. The goal is to shift from just being a critic pointing out problems to being a partner who's bringing a solution to the table. The source documents suggest this kind of positive framing is way more likely to persuade policymakers. Because, who doesn't want to be associated with growth and positive outcomes?
Okay, so you've laid out all the evidence, you've carefully framed your narrative,
But for any argument to be effective, it has to end with a clear ask. So, after all that, what do the advocates actually want to happen?
And their final ask is broken down into these three main pillars. First, a formal constitutional challenge. Second, a demand for disability justice through a guaranteed monthly floor. And third, a plan to, as they put it, restore social order by taking that identified surplus and immediately reallocating it into care and housing.
So, when you step back and look at it, what we've just walked through is basically a masterclass in how to build a political argument. They combine hard data, elevate it with a human rights framework, and then strategically package the whole thing to be as persuasive as possible. It really shows that in the world of advocacy, the story you tell is just as important as the facts you present. Which kind of leaves us with a final question to think about, right? What is it that makes an argument persuasive to you? Is it the cold, hard data, the emotional appeal, the legal framing, or the hope for a solution?